Welcome everyone to Time to Thrive. I'm your host, Bethany Meadows, and today we're going to talk about social media. Our guest is Katie Brinkley. She's the owner and social media strategist with Next Step Social Communications. They're a social media agency based out of Littleton, Colorado, and she's been helping small businesses, entrepreneurs, and real estate agents with their social media for over 17 years. She does done for you quotes done for you social media services and coaching services, where she teaches entrepreneurs in the home industry how social media can be an incredible tool to help find new leads, build community, grow sales, and bring the social back to their social media. She's also the host of a podcast called Rocky Mountain Marketing that helps entrepreneurs and small business owners learn the strategies and systems to take their marketing to new heights. Welcome to the show, Katie.
Hey, yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's fun to be here. And I always feel really old whenever I need to figure out a different way to reword like how long I've been doing this because I'm like 17
Yeah,
years makes me feel like I'm like a dinosaur.
mine, I have to say over 30 years. And so I would be happy with 17.
Well, and a
So
lot of people are like, wait, 17 years? Like, has social media really been around that long?
that's true. And the only reason, if we go back to way back when, right, when Facebook, for example, first came out, it was like all the college kids were using it. And it was at the time my kids were college kids or high school, college, whatever, kind of in that range. And the only reason I got on Facebook was to stalk my children, like to know what they were doing. That was my entire incentive.
Well, so the reason, I got started, but I was all in on MySpace. So I don't know if you remember
I
MySpace. I mean,
do. I
Tom
still
was
have mine.
everybody's social media first social media friend. But so I went to a smaller school. I played softball in college, and it was a D2 school. And for some reason, Zuck didn't think that my Division II college was good enough to be on Facebook, even though I had a .edu address. So I was all in on MySpace, and that's when I got into the social media game because I was helping a lot of bands with their MySpace pages, and because I worked at the college radio station,
Right.
and we had to get bands to send us their music for free, and so I was just reaching out to bands on MySpace, and I remember the college station manager was like, "How are you getting all this music sent to us for free?" And I'm like, I'm just reaching out on MySpace, and it evolved, and I was like, "Ooh, this is a really good way to like network and find new friends and do business." And as a college kid, I mean, like it was great for me because then anytime they came through Denver, they'd give me backstage passes to their show, and I'm like, well, now I feel like I'm a big deal. I'm just helping them with their MySpace pages.
That's awesome. And we were all learning how to build websites on MySpace,
For
right? We
sure.
were all learning those early website skills
Yep.
of, backgrounds and music. We just thought we were so cool back then.
I know.
Um, it's just come a long way.
It really
But it's
has.
interesting. And we'll get into talking about kind of the evolution and where we think things are going. But how did you get, I mean, you just mentioned a little bit about MySpace and college, but how did you end up making this a career? What was your journey that took you there?
Yeah, well, I mean, like back then, like being a social media anything didn't exist, you know. It was definitely one of the things where I worked at the college radio station. I wanted to be a sports reporter when I got done with school, and so I worked at the college radio station, started doing MySpace, saw what an incredible tool it was. But I mean, again, you couldn't really like make a career out of helping bands with their MySpace pages. And I graduated. I went on to be the post game reporter for the Denver Broncos, Colorado Rockies, and Denver Nuggets here in Denver for the radio station 850 KOA. And I loved it. I mean, it was my dream job, and I loved what I did. But I was still helping. Now, Facebook had opened up into the world, so I was still helping bands with their MySpaces. And then, like, I knew a lot of small business owners here in Denver, and I was like, you should have like a Facebook page for your coffee shop, just so that way people, you can tell them like what you're up to or like what your store hours are. And this was again before Facebook business pages were even a thing. So we were just creating all these personal pages for their businesses.
That's
But again,
right.
it was all for trade. I'd get free coffee whenever I'd go. So I had my dream job. I was the radio reporter. I was doing social media on the side. And then this thing called Sirius XM came out, and everyone in the radio industry panicked, including yours truly. And so I decided, okay, well, radio's dying, and I don't have any TV experience. I don't really want to be on TV. I'm going to move into marketing. So I moved into marketing, and I worked as a marketing manager for AT&T and DirecTV. And I did their social media. I did their media buys. Did script writing for them. And it wasn't until I was laid off from there about 6 years ago that I decided to start my own business. And it so DirecTV and AT&T, as you know, they merged, and my position was one of many that was eliminated through the merger. And I remember sitting in my boss's office at the time. I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. I really like what I do here. And she said to me, she goes, Katie, you're so good at social media, the stuff that you've been able to do for the station, and the different ideas you have, and like the way you've learned how to do ads for us. You're so good at social media. I would love to see that be something that you do full time. And so I was like, okay, why not? I have, a small severance package. I have enough money that I can, try and find something else until, that runs out. And then when the severance package ran out, I had 2 clients, and now it's been almost 6 years. So, I mean, it definitely was something that I never expected to have as my full-time job, but now that it is, I can go to work every day and say that I do something that I love. So it's really been a way that something I never dreamed of being when I was a kid. I mean, it's probably like somebody never saying like, oh, when I grow up, I, want to file papers every day or whatever, but I mean, it's something that I came into, and I love what I do now. And all of the stuff that along the way definitely led me to where I am now.
When we first started, our agency is about 14 years old. Actually, we'll be 14 in a few days. So, um, back then, like you were saying, we were setting up profiles for businesses because business pages didn't exist, and we were just trying to use it to connect. Um, a lot of business, I guess, because it was new in those early days, and even, I think people are more savvy about it now, but for a long time, people just thought social media was something easy.
Yes. No,
Um,
people still think that. Bethany,
I can
people
do
still think that,
that.
oh, my
They're just
kid's on social
posting
media, they
things.
can do it.
And there's really a lot of strategy that goes into good, effective social media, right? So,
Yes.
what are some things that, for your clients, what are you building into that strategy? What are some of the things that you want to have in place before you even post that first post?
Well, I think that one of the biggest things, there's a couple things, but I mean, one, make sure your bio is optimized. I think that having an optimized bio is something that gets kind of just like, all right, my bio, like I created my account, here's a quick bio and I'm done. And then that's the last someone looks at it. But when you
Right.
think about it, your bio is your first impression. I mean, if you have a reel that goes viral, or someone stumbles across your post because one of their friends shared it, like in their stories, the very first thing they're going to do when they get to your page is see like, okay, so who is this person? What do they do? And then they're going to make the decision whether or not they want to follow you, if they want to like some of your posts. I mean,
Right.
that's the important thing is that I think a lot of people don't even look at after they set up their account is your bio optimized? So that's one of the first things to do. And then 2 is figuring out a strategy. I think that one of the biggest misconceptions right now, especially, is that there's a difference with your strategy of posting as a content creator and posting as a business. I don't know about you, but I have a business to run. I don't have time to create 5 pieces of content every day to post out on Instagram, so I think that that's where a lot of confusion happens is what can you do to show up on a consistent basis for your audience? And are you checking all the boxes? Because everyone consumes content differently. So, I mean, Are you
That's right.
showing up on video? Are you showing up on with images? Are you showing up with graphics? So figuring out that strategy at the beginning as to how consistent you can be for creating your content. Hey, maybe you can produce 5 images or 5 pieces of content every day, but if you can do that consistently, then great. But we have to work that into a schedule. So
I think one of the mistakes that a lot of people make with their social media is they don't really understand who their customer persona is.
yes, who are
Um,
they
so,
talking to?
so they don't even know what social media channels to be on
Mhm.
because, depending on demographic, age, lots of things would play into whether or not you should even have a TikTok channel versus a LinkedIn
Yeah.
channel. Can you speak to that a little bit? How does a business figure that out? What channels should they be using?
Well, I mean, there's the typical demographics type of statistics you can get where uh like are you speaking, so like are you speak is your audience mostly women that are over 40? Facebook might be a good spot for you. Or are you trying to target, like, oh gosh, now I'm a millennial. Like the next ones down, the Gen Zers, is that what they're
Gen
called?
Y,
Yeah.
Gen, Gen
I
Y.
mean, like, knowing your age demographic, if are you do you have enough pieces of content that you can publish, daily or, multiple times a day on Twitter where you can just share different news pieces and different tips or tricks? Is your audience predominantly male? What type of product are you selling? Should you show up on LinkedIn, by, okay, we're doing a lot of business to business and we're willing to go there to network, to have business conversations. Well, then LinkedIn might be a great spot. So, I mean, a lot of it depends on really taking a step back and thinking, where is my ideal client spending time? And I think that is one of the biggest misconceptions, Bethany, is that you have to be on all the channels and
Right.
or all the platforms. And when you do that, you just end up being white noise. And I know that some people might say, like, well, aren't I missing on an opportunity of what if there are some people there? And there's different ways to show up on all these channels. I mean,
Exactly.
with
Yeah.
with LinkedIn, I publish articles every week. Um, and then on Instagram, I publish a reel every week. A reel's not going to perform the same way on LinkedIn, and an article is not going to perform the same way on Instagram. So, I mean, like, I'm still producing content for these different platforms, but it's not a copy and paste format. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I see is they're like, okay, well, got to be on all of them because I could be missing, like that one person that might stumble across me on that platform. But it really, I think that that's one of the hardest things is saying, like, okay, I know that there might be some people there, but how can you show up on that one platform that your ideal client is on and really just knock it out of the park?
Right. Well, yeah. And are there some other common mistakes that you see business owners making when it comes to their social media, whether it be content or the way that they're approaching their objectives on the
Yeah, no,
platforms?
there's a lot. There's a lot of mistakes people are making. So one, not paying attention to the bio. Two, not thinking about their what they're posting and just showing up and selling all the time. I mean, nobody wants to be sold to. I mean, I don't know about you, but I really don't tune in on Sunday mornings to, the major news outlets to see the, 4 hours worth of infomercials. That's not my thing. But I think that you can't just show up and sell all the time and expect, people to follow you. You have to show up and give value. You have to show some of your brand's personality. What are you passionate about? What are you in alignment with? So showing up and not just selling and giving value. And then lastly is being social. I know that you said that in my intro, but I mean, being social on social media doesn't mean posting all the time. I mean, there's a lot of great things that you can do if you're not interested in posting every day. And it honestly, you'll probably enjoy these platforms a lot more when you're not trying to create new content every day. I mean, I was on a little bit of a social media break while I recharged my creative juices. And I still gained followers. And the reason I gained followers is because I was engaging on other people's posts. I was commenting, I was liking, I was, spending time in the feed and in hashtag hubs. And I was still gaining followers every day because of the whole being social aspect. And then when I was ready to come back and I had my my creative juices flowing again, now I had a new audience to show my stuff to. So um, show up and be social. That's what it's all about, right? Be in creating those relationships.
Awesome. Yeah. I saw I stalked you a little bit. That's what we do, right? We stalk each other on social or online. You talk about ghosting, and I've not heard that term before. What is that? What is ghosting?
So, and it kind of goes back to the whole being social thing. So posting and ghosting is when you show up and you post your, let's just say Instagram, you post your Instagram post with the pretty picture and a caption, you got some hashtags in there, you hit publish, and then you close out the app and you don't open it up again until you are posting your next post. You know that you're not going to get as much reach in the algorithm because Instagram wants you to be on their platform. I mean, the longer you're on their platform, the more, more data they can get from you and the more stuff they can show to you, the more stuff that you could potentially buy. So they want you to stay on there. If you just show up and publish and then that's it and shut things down, you're not going to get seen to as many people. But two, as I was just saying before, when you're spending time in the comments, in commenting and in the feed, you're opening up the door for conversations. Again, you can, if you leave a valuable comment, and not just, I'm not saying like the 3 fire emojis or the 3 heart emojis. Let's please everyone just stop with the 3 emoji reaction commenting. But if you show up and you leave a genuine comment on somebody's post, they comment back. They might come over to your page. They might leave you a comment. I can't tell you how many new leads I've gotten from just having a comment conversation that we've moved into the DMs. And next thing you know, we're on a sales call. So, I mean, if you show up and get to know somebody, and I'm not saying that everything needs to turn into sales, but I've made some great friends on Instagram that have all started in the comments, and you never know where it could take your relationship online. So posting and ghosting, don't just show up, hit publish, and then turn off the app for until, your next post is scheduled to go out. Spend some time in the feed commenting on people and replying to comments that people have left on your posts.
Yeah. And it's the law of reciprocity, right?
Yeah.
Where, if you give some attention, some engagement, something to somebody else, they feel like, well, they see something of yours go by and they feel like, well, I'm going to give that back.
Yep.
And do it in return. What is
Exactly.
social audio?
Social audio. Ooh, I'm so glad that we're diving into this. So that is, it really took off during the pandemic. So Clubhouse, Fireside, Twitter Spaces, Wisdom. There's a lot of LinkedIn audio rooms. Man, the list goes on. There's a lot of audio platforms out there. And I'm not just talking about podcasting. This is that live interaction, that live conversation that you can have with somebody from all over the world that you probably never would have had the opportunity to speak to if it wasn't for these social audio rooms. And the thing that I love about social audio is you have the opportunity to host a conversation based on your expertise, positioning yourself as a thought leader. But two, if you don't want to show up and speak on stage, you can go into rooms and listen for market research. And the best thing of all is you don't got to get all done up for it. You
Don't need
can
to
do
be
it in your pajamas. So, I mean, that's one of my favorite parts.
No, it's a filter-free zone.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I said too when we started broadcasting. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna miss the Zoom filters here to kind of touch up the appearance."
What? I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and they had just been to the big social media conference.
Which one? Oh, okay.
Social,
So there's been a couple,
I
but
think it
so
was in
social
the
media
UK.
marketing world.
I think it was like Social Con in the UK.
Okay, cool.
And they were talking about, the changes that they're seeing, that was talked about at the conference, that they're seeing happen with social media channels, and the strong trend towards the quick reels, the tiny bits of entertaining, very
Yeah.
addictive content. Not everybody is comfortable making those kinds of content. So what kind of yeah, me too. What kind of content would be good, given that this is like the trend, or this is where a lot of the platforms are going. I guess it goes back to like the success that TikTok has had with their platform, and now like you see Facebook kind of doing a very
Yeah.
similar thing, and I've heard Instagram is also going to be going somewhat that way, and it also goes against our traditional sense of building community and having your followers who see your content, because now they're pushing your content to whoever, right?
Mhm.
Whoever is going to consume that reel, that whatever
Yep.
story. So
So I have a lot of thoughts on this.
yeah,
One of them is, I mean, like you and I both raised our hands when we said like not everyone wants to do short form video. And I mean that's where like podcasting and social audio is still a great spot for you to show up and have that brand voice. I mean, with Clubhouse, with Fireside, you get like the recordings. You can turn those into like audio clips to share on your social channels. So I mean, like if it's still not your thing, there are still ways for you to show up and build your business without showing up on video. That being said, it's 12 seconds. Reels are kind of the 9 to 12-second reels, and TikToks are kind of the thing. It used to be that you had 3 seconds to grab someone's attention. Now you have zero point 0.2. I mean, like, holy cow, consumer. Like, can we just like scale it back a little bit here? I mean, you're giving us 0.2 seconds to prevent you from scrolling by us. So, I mean, like, it's hard. And it's exactly what you said, Bethany. We're not showing up and really building that community when they're showing out your content to so many, randos that are scrolling the gram.
exactly.
But this is the thing. And Instagram Reels, TikToks, those are a great spot to get reach. And this is why I do like Instagram a little bit better than TikTok, because you still have that short form video content. If you want to show up and do reels, you can do that for your main, like I think of it like a net. You're just like, hey, I'm going to go and get lots of reach, and I want to try and bring you guys in here. Now, once you've cast that net and people have come in, that's where you show up through carousel posts, through live video, through pictures and stories of you and your business. Your Instagram still has those tools out there, so that's where you really have to make those count. And just think of your Instagram reels. That's where it's really important to pay attention to make sure that your reels are on point and are what your ideal client customer want. Because if you're just doing a funny cat video and you get all these followers and then you're trying to sell them social media services, they're gonna be like, why am I here?
Yeah.
So I mean, use the reels as that net. Then once they're in, give value, share your brand story, and this is where you're going to build your community, is in those other posts. I know it can be hard because you get the likes, you get the reach on reels, but you got to cultivate that community somehow. And that's where that showing up on those other, ways of posting is so important.
Yes. The beginning of this year, we had kind of a little hiccup, I guess you could say, in social media world, where Apple did an update with a privacy that prevented a lot of what we do in marketing, prevented for us from doing all the targeting that we typically do. How has that impacted in terms of how you're reading analytics and things on social media channels? Like,
Yeah,
how would a small business owner approach their analytics in a way that would be meaningful for them?
Yeah, and I mean, like it. So this is a thing for all you iPhone users out there. And this, I know what this is coming from a marketer, but I do have to say, I like it when I see stuff in my feed that applies to me. I
Hmm.
don't know about you. I really don't need to see like just for men, ads in my news feed. But I can sure tell you that if I've been shopping for new sunglasses on Amazon and I didn't actually buy anything, and then all of a sudden in my feed, I see those sunglasses that I had clicked on and started researching before I got distracted, I sure like that. I sure like seeing that in my feed. So, I mean, while I understand, and I mean, I have an iPhone. I see the notifications like, do you want to share your data with this app? And there's sometimes I do, and there's sometimes I don't. But I think it makes sense for us as if you're going to be Googling things, you might as well opt in on Facebook and on Instagram, because then you're going to see stuff that actually matters to you in your feed, and you're not going to see a bunch of stuff that doesn't apply to you. You're going to see stuff anyways, is what I'm saying. That being said, I do think that it's been a little bit harder for marketers to get their product out in front of the right people. We've seen cost per clicks go up,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's still cheaper than buying a billboard and then just hoping the right person drives by. So it's there's a lot of people on social media. Facebook is still number one overall. Instagram I think is number three. So it makes sense to do ads and to spend time on social media because your audience is there. Your audience is on social.
Every day.
You're probably just going to see a little bit of your clicks go up a little bit in price, and unfortunately, you're not going to be able to be seen in front of your exact ideal client and customer. You might, be missing out on some opportunities, but for everyone listening, I do have to say, like, it definitely, I think for me, makes sense to see stuff in my feed that I could potentially buy. So,
Yeah, I felt that way too. And I was kind of surprised that I think the number was like 93% opted out,
mhm.
in terms of didn't want their information shared. I think a lot of people heard privacy, and that was all they needed to hear for
Well, I
it.
mean, Zuck didn't give himself the best reputation with that whole mess during the election. So, I mean, like, I get it. I get why people were like, yeah, I want my privacy, and not, you guys are lying to me and the fake news. So, I mean, like, I totally get it. However, seeing like the full scope of what it is that you're opting into and giving them access to, I think makes a big difference. So yeah, those are just my 2 cents on it.
If you had to give uh, a small business owner who's really trying to elevate their social media game,
Mhm.
3 tips, what would you suggest that they do to kind of move the needle for them?
Focus in on the platform that your ideal client is hanging out on. Man, look at you wrapping up this episode so nicely with a little bow here. So focus in on the one platform that your ideal client and customer is hanging out on, so that you can maximize your presence there. If you try to copy and paste and show up on all the platforms, you're going to overwhelm yourself and you're going to end up being white noise. To be social, so spend 15 minutes a day just commenting on your ideal client and customers' hashtags. Spend some time in the feed. Answer people who have commented on your posts, because I mean, no one wants to talk to crickets. If someone took the time to get both thumbs going, give them a response at least. And then number 3, I would probably say don't discount the power of voice. Whether it is a podcast, whether it is a social audio platform, you can move relationships along at lightning speed with your voice. You can hear someone when someone's passionate about something, or if they could really care less. You can tell if someone's reading a page off of Google. I mean, anybody can create pretty graphics now on social media thanks to Canva. There's something authentic about voice. And if you aren't ready to be on camera all the time, social audio is a great, very affordable way for you to build out your audience.
Great points. Look at you. I didn't even give you that list ahead of time either. So you stepped up with the 1, 2, 3. Again, you host a podcast yourself, Rocky Mountain Marketing. I'm going to go subscribe myself.
Thanks.
And next step socialcommunications.com is where people can reach out to you if they're interested in having social media done for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're like, look, Katie, I don't really need to know how to do it. Don't worry about coaching me to do anything. Just do it for me. Check it out. That's our done for you services. And yeah, like you said, be sure to tune into the podcast, Rocky Mountain Marketing. New episodes come out every Tuesday.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.